Good morning, everyone. This is why we do beta testing. We have a lot of updates. Thank you all for getting the information in on activities. I know there was a ton of questions, so we're going to answer all those questions together so we're all on the same page. First off, I just want to talk about kind of why we're structuring things the way we're structuring. There is going to be a change to reporting. I think I have an easier way to report than a scorecard. But part of the reason we're doing things the way we are is we're picking an 8-week season. And that gives us some time to set some goals, right?
Yep.
So we can look 8 weeks out and be like, in 8 weeks, I want to improve my PR. So we're not super focused on just what's happening this week. We're building some goals, getting ready for the next season. So I think that 8 weeks, it could be a 12-week season. We could change that over time. But I think having a season, gosh, your bird's noisy. But having a season with some long-term goals, I think is important. The other thing that I really like about this is I like that you're reporting weekly.
Yeah.
Now, one thing we could do is we could create an app, and every time anybody logs an activity, they could put it in the app right away, and then the leaderboard could be updated automatically.
Yeah.
The thing I don't like about that is then you end up looking at the app all the time, seeing which of your friends have logged activities, and you kind of get tied to the app in that instant feedback, instant gratification. Mm-hmm. We don't want to be tethered to our devices. We don't do social media. I'm not on Facebook. I am on Instagram to share some photos with some grandparents. But I hope the bird isn't too obnoxious in the video. I think we're going to be okay. But generally, I don't want us to be tied to our devices and like constantly having to check to see, am I still in first place? Am I in fourth place? Like, where am I at? So just having that breadth of weekly reporting, I think is really important.
Yeah.
I think a lot of the parents struggled with the scorecard. I think there was a fair bit of confusion on like how to assign point values to certain things.
Yeah.
So we're going to answer all those questions, but the very first thing I want to get into is the new scorecard, which is actually individual little cards that the kids should be able to fill out on their own. So I'm going to pull it up on our monitor so we can see it, and for them I'm going to actually like put it on the video. Boop, there's the running scorecard. So the thought is that there's 4 cards on a sheet of paper, a normal printer size sheet of paper. So if you print this out, you can cut this in fourths, and my hope is that we just have a stack of cards with all of the activities on it. And then anytime the kids do an activity, they can take that card and they can stick it in a cup that says completed. They can stick it up with a magnet on their fridge. They can use a pin and stick it on a pin board. And basically we're recording every activity is recorded with a card. And then each card kind of has all the information that you need to know how many points you get. And that's the other thing that's super important with this weekly piece. If the parents are doing the scorecards and you guys are oblivious of what your score is, that doesn't really motivate you. The whole point of having points is that you know what your points are and that you're trying to get more points.
Yeah.
If I made the point system so complicated, you only get to find out at the end of the week what your points are, it kind of robs something from your motivation. Like if you did Duolingo and you didn't get any points till the end of the week, like you wouldn't be involved in it is the same way as you are. So it's very important that you guys understand how many points you're getting for each activity. Mm-hmm. So with these cards, you're going to put in your minutes, and then under the minutes, it's going to tell you, was it a slow run? You get 5 points for every 10 minutes. If it was an interval workout, you get 6 points for every 10 minutes. And then biking has 2 different point values depending on how it was structured. So we get our bonus plus 2 points if you run with friends. We get a bad weather bonus. If it's an organized race, like where you're getting a race bid number, like if it's kind of a serious race and you're qualifying and your time's going to be on a website, we double the points. And then if you get a personal record, it's plus 10 points. So basically, once you did your activity and you did your run, when you got home, you would take one of these, you would fill it out. You'd be like, I ran for 30 minutes. I ran with a friend. 30 minutes, 5 points for every 10 minutes. That's 15 plus 2, that's 17. So you write 17 at the bottom. Done. Bam.
Yeah.
Pretty straightforward. Some of the littler kids need some help from their folks, but they can still have this sitting on their desk, stuck on their fridge, and they can see their points after each activity.
Yeah.
So that's what we want. So, seem like a pretty good idea so far?
Definitely.
Let's take a peek at the biking scorecard real quick. Biking is very similar to running. We need 20 minutes minimum. 20 minutes minimum is going to be for any cardio activity. And if you're right on the road, Centennial Trail, kind of bebopping along, you get 3 points for every 10 minutes. So that's less than 5 or 6 that you get for running.
Yeah.
But biking is less impact, so you can also do it a lot longer, right? We're
Yeah.
trying to value these on their benefit to our cardio and our strength training. You do get just as many points for riding your bike if you're on dirt and hitting some hills. So thinking of Riverside State Park, thinking of the 7 Mile area, we go do some hard bike rides out there. It is just as difficult as a run,
Yeah.
right? If you push yourself on a bike. And that's up to you guys to kind of think about how hard am I working? How many points does this really earn? Is it a leisurely road ride where you get 3 points, or is it I'm hammering the pedals? Now, if you go right on the Centennial Trail and you're hammering your pedals and you can barely talk, like, you should give yourself the 5 points. It doesn't necessarily have to be dirt and hills, but it's kind of a measure of intensity, and that is going to be a little bit subjective. But let's look at swimming. Wasn't originally broken into 2 categories, and I changed this. So this is one of the areas where point values got changed. If you're swimming laps, like you're exercising, it's 5 points for every 10 minutes, same as running. Swimming is a very good workout. We don't get resistance in our legs in quite the same way, but it's still amazing cardio. There's still a lot of benefit to it. If you're just playing in the lazy river, if you're just swimming around, holding your breath, kind of goofing around, it's 2 points for every 10 minutes. Rucking is 5 points for every 10 minutes, same as running. Do it with a friend, get a bonus. Do it in bad weather, get a bonus. So hopefully that is pretty straightforward. Swimming and rucking have a maximum amount of points you can get every week. So there's only so much rucking we can do that will be a benefit to us. There's only so much swimming that we can do that'll be a benefit to us. It's going to be really hard for you guys to overtrain running. Like, you guys could literally run every day as long as you're staying in zone 2 and not doing too much strength training for your legs. So running and biking, like, get those miles in. Like, every minute your heart is in zone 2 is amazing. Rucking and swimming, you know, in my mind, we just can't, that's not an unlimited thing. That's like a good secondary training option.
Yeah.
So you should get points for it. You can get a lot of points for it, but it's not unlimited. And that's at the top of the scorecard. And then we have our other activities. So strength training and other activities, I made some strength training cards, which is you just get 10 points for strength training. And that's not based off of any time limit. If you do it for 20 minutes or if you do it for an hour, it's 10 points. So here's what it comes down to. Are you doing good strength training where your muscle is hitting hypertrophy, which I think is what it's called? Like, when you strain your muscle, it actually tears the fibers in your muscle a little bit. That's called hypertrophy. I think I'm getting that word right, hypertrophy. If I'm saying it wrong, I'll put it in text under the video. But that's where we strain the muscle so much that it tears the fibers, and that's why our muscle aches.
Yeah.
And then when your muscle heals itself, it heals it stronger than it was before and bigger than it was before. So using our muscles makes them bigger and stronger, right? So when we're doing strength training, the important point is we should be doing strength training to a point where we're feeling it in our legs. And the reason I don't want to put a time limit on this is because we're going to do some videos on strength training that the kids can do along with us. You know, they can just queue up a 20-minute strength training video and stuff like that. But there's some other fun ways to do strength training, which is if you were to walk 5 miles, 10,000 steps, or if you were to stop every 45 minutes during the day and do 10 body weight squats. We've all done squats, right?
Yeah.
If you just set a timer on your watch and you do 10 squats every 45 minutes, What do you think is going to do more for your strength?
The squats?
It's about even. If you stop and just do 10 squats every 45 minutes, it's equivalent benefit to walking about 5 miles a day. And think about how little time it takes, right? You just stop, do a few squats, and then we keep going. So, when I was in the Army, we did the same thing with push-ups. Like we did before every meal, like all the time somebody was yelling at you, stop and do push-ups. And it's not that we're forcing all of our strength training into 10 minutes. For some of us, it might be we just want to set a timer and every hour do 15 push-ups, right? That would do a lot for our strength training.
Yeah.
And if you do that all day long, give yourself a 10-point strength training card. You don't get a 10-point strength training card every time you do 10 push-ups. But if you're going to take your strength training and spread it out throughout the day and do 10 push-ups every hour, that would earn you an extra 10 points. And you can get a maximum of 30 points a week. You guys are young, we shouldn't be doing a ton of strength training, but yeah, there are different ways to go about doing that. So strength training is an activity. If people were to go rock climbing at the Boulder Place, I would count that as strength training. Block yard, yep. Yeah. I would count that as strength training, right? That's not cardio. Your heart's not going to be in zone 2 necessarily. But that would be good strength training. So regardless of how long you're at block yard, 1 hour, 3 hours, whatever, like 10-point strength training bonus. Then we have our other activities, and this was an area of confusion. So this is where I kind of want to get into some of the questions. So under the other activity, we had some questions from parents on just, what do I report this as? How many points is it worth? So Jonah, for example, does baseball, and Jonah and Annika both have PE at school. Like, how do we count PE at school? Emma and Mason go for family walks in the morning where the family kind of walks, but Emma and Mason like run ahead and run back, run ahead and run back. And does that count? So on the other activity cards, I created 2. Okay, there's one with a little heartbeat, bump, bump, bump. So that's our cardio activity. And then we have a little yoga one, which is kind of like our breathing and stretching and those kind of activities. So in any activity that isn't running, biking, rucking, or swimming, okay, it's either a cardio activity or another kind of approved activity like breathing or yoga or something like that. So there's some benefits. So if you do a breathing exercise and you follow along with one of the videos that we're going to create, or you use the Wim Hof app or something like that, like a breathing exercise, it's kind of like strength training. You just get 3 points for it. We're not tracking time.
Yeah.
You take the time to do the breathing exercise. It's important to build it into our habits. You get the points for it. And yoga, same way. We're not necessarily timing our yoga. It's about, yoga is going to give us a little bit of flexibility. It's going to give us a little bit of strength. It's a good thing to do, but we're not tracking time. You do a good yoga session, a good honest yoga session, 10, 15 minutes, you're going to get 3 points.
So could you do that multiple times a day?
Well, you can do it, but you max out at 30 times a week.
Yeah.
Right? So you should try to spread it out throughout the week, not do like 15 minutes of yoga, take a 5-minute break, and then do 15 more minutes of yoga and say that was 2 sessions. Like, I don't think that's a good way to do it. This is about trying to help us build habits.
I just mean if you do one in the morning and then at dinner time.
But then you're putting all your yoga in one day, and it would probably be better to spread it throughout the week. But yes, if you did.
Yeah.
For example, you normally do it in the morning, but let's say you had some friends come over and you wanted to show them your yoga routine.
Yeah.
Totally appropriate to take another. But you do max out at 30 points a week. So, and that 30 points is for yoga and your breathing and any other activity that counts that's not cardio related. That would include, I think this other activity that's not cardio related is going to include things like school PE. If the kid's playing PE for an hour, I don't think general PE at schools is going to keep you at zone 2 heart rate for a significant amount of time. So I think this other activity that's 3 points is going to be a catch-all for a lot of things. And I hate to discriminate against certain activities. and Megan kind of pushed me back on this, like, you can't put running on a pedestal, but I do put running on a pedestal because there's like very few things that we can do that are as good for our hearts and stuff as running. Even biking, you have to be very disciplined to get the same workout that you do from running. So we do have another activity that is cardio based. Now, when we're talking about cardio, we're talking about our heart rate being at a certain rate. For everybody out there, like, as we're thinking about cardio and our heart rate, when we run and we want to become better distance athletes, we're thinking about two things. We're thinking about cardio, which is how strong the engine of our heart is, and we're thinking about how strong our muscles are in our body and our shoulders and everything. Like, we use a lot of muscles when we run, but largely we focus on our legs. So that's why our points are for distance things that get our hearts up, or strength things like strength activities and exercises, or rucking. Because when we put, like Kinsley said, when you put that pack on, you're putting more resistance on your muscles, which is making your muscles bigger, right? Yep. So we're focusing on strength, we're focusing on getting our heart rate up. And the way we look at that, and you know what, we will do another video because we're all going to share our heart rates. But we can break our heart rates into zones, and runners often like to be in zone 2, I should say distance runners. And the way zones work is that you have a resting heart rate. So what you should all do, we'll do another video about that, and we'll do it. Okay. But basically, when you wake up in the morning, very first thing, measure your heart rate, and that's your resting heart rate. My resting heart rate is 48. So my heart beats 48 times a minute when I'm resting. That's where I start in the morning. And then you run as fast as you can, as long as you can, and you see how high can I get my heart rate. My heart rate tops out at 178. I cannot get my heart rate to 179. You guys, your heart rates, because you're younger, your heart rates are faster, you'll probably be more like 200. I bet your max heart rates will be around 200. Okay. And your guys' resting heart rate is like right around 70. So what you do is, if Dane's resting heart rate is 70 and his max, let's say, is 210, then the difference, you subtract 70 from 210, and that's 140. So 140 is the range that your heart can move. Okay? Zone 2 starts at halfway through that. So that's 70, right? Because from 0 to 140, halfway is 70. So 70 added to 70, because your base heart rate is 70, that gives you the start of zone 2. That means zone 2 for you is 140 beats per minute. So when we're running, like slow, long distance runs, your heart rate should be at least 140, maybe 145. That would be high for me. My zone 2, because my heart rate's lower, my zone 2 is like 120-ish. Yeah. Right? So, and that's the thing, all of our heart rates are different. Now we could nerd out and get heart rate monitors and do a bunch of this stuff, but there's a really simple way to tell if you're in zone 2. Do you know what it is?
If you can't, no, never mind.
If you can have a conversation.
Yeah.
Okay? So if we are running at zone 2, we should be able to have a conversation. Now we might be breathing a little bit heavy, but we can still talk. And we can talk about how school's going and doing different things while we run. If you cannot have a conversation, if you cannot speak,
then you're in zone 3.
You're 3 or above. Right. Generally that's a pretty good rule. Okay? So that's a pretty good measure on the cardio front. Now, if you're running around at school at PE and you can still talk, like, yes, you can still talk, so you're not above zone 2, but like, is your heart constantly staying at that 140 range? Like, if you go play freeze tag, is your heart pegged at 140? And this is where devices like Apple Watches with heart rate monitors and stuff can really help, is you can monitor those kind of activities. And that's going to be up to each individual. If you guys feel like it's checking the box for cardio, if you go play freeze tag for 30 minutes and you have a watch and you know what your zone 2 is and you're there, then count it as a cardio activity and get the extra points. Because if you do a cardio activity for 30 minutes, that's 9 points. But if you go play freeze tag and you're not in the zone for cardio, you just get 3 points in general, right? Because that's another activity. It's just a bonus activity, kind of like yoga, kind of like breathing. It's good to play with our friends. Freeze tag is great. Community piece. And let's get on to Jonas. Baseball. Baseball came up. Does baseball count? It's like, well, let's look if you're running a lot. Like maybe practice is different than the game. When you look at baseball, like maybe the game is a little slow. Maybe the game doesn't count. But maybe practices are really hard and you're running a lot. Maybe practice does count.
Yeah.
But whether or not it counts for cardio is your heart rate staying at zone 2? For most of you kids, it's probably going to be about 140 beats per minute. If it's not that high, if it's not staying that high, it doesn't count for cardio exercise. And for however long the activity is, just give yourself 3 points to keep it simple.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
I think so.
Is that something you could keep track of if we had a stack of cards in your room?
For sure. Yeah.
I'm trying to think of all the other questions we're asking. And then once you have all your cards on the refrigerator or sitting on your desk or pinned to the corkboard or wherever you collect your cards, then the parents can just take a picture of that. And then I have a spreadsheet. And then that makes it easy for me to go through. Because what I had was like description of activities where Kinsley rode her bike.
Yeah.
But I didn't know at what intensity she rode her bike. I didn't know, was she leisurely riding on the trail or were they hammering hills? Like, and that matters. So I think these cards will give us enough detail for me to get the points right. You'll know what the points are during the week. I'll have all the info I need to stick in the spreadsheet. And then I think we're good to go. So, and from week 1, there was a couple other changes on points like PRs. I just tried to make everything simpler. So all of the PR bonuses are now 10 points. I had some that were 10 and some that were 15 and whatever else. I got rid of the longest run PR. So the only way to PR for running now is to run a faster race time for a mile, for 3K, for 5K, or whatever your distance is. So we're not doing distance. For biking, it's for distance. There's one PR for biking and it's your longest ride ever. So if the longest ride you've ever done was 8 miles and you go on a 12.5 mile ride, you get 10 bonus points. For rucking, I eliminated the summit bonus because for the age that you guys are, we're just not going to be summiting a lot of mountains as much as I love doing that. And we might include some summits and like expeditions and getting people to go out as groups. But I just have the longest hike you've ever done on there. That's 10 bonus points.
Okay.
So we just kind of standardized some of the bonuses. For swimming, I got rid of the treading water one. And I made it just about swimming the most laps you've ever swam before. Which is challenging, right? We want to build up how many laps can you go back and forth. And I did keep the holding the breath one because I think that that is a really good measure. Because as our hearts and as our cardio gets better, our body gets more efficient and we're actually going to be able to hold our breath for longer.
Yeah.
So that's going to be pretty cool to monitor as we're swimming and stuff. So that's kind of how the cards work.
Yeah.
I think we're ready to print them out and give it a go. We have one more week left. And then we're going to jump into our big 8-week season. So this is a little test to get all the bugs worked out. And then this Saturday, no, is it this Saturday?
Yeah.
This Saturday is November 1st. So this Saturday will be the start of our first 8-week season. And we'll see who we crown as our distance champion. I think we should probably come up with some pretty cool prizes. I think that would be kind of fun.
Yeah.
The other thing with this system, I like that it is time-based and not distance-based. So we should all get the same points. If I go run for an hour and I run 13 miles, and if you run for an hour and you run 6 miles, like it shouldn't be rigged in a way where I get so many more points for the same amount of time.
Yeah.
So I really think it's a pretty even playing field. Yeah, I think there's a lot of opportunities to earn points. I think the opportunity is there for everybody to participate fully and get the points in. I think I overcomplicated the scorecard a little bit. I think there was a lot of gray area, which hopefully this resolves.
Yeah.
What were your thoughts after week 1?
I think we're getting to a good point.
Yeah.
It still feels a little confusing with how, like, I guess like how long you can go, like being able to still do it, but
Mhm.
I think that's been resolved. So
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if there are more questions, let us know. The scorecards, the new little scorecards that you can print and cut, will be in a Google Drive. I'm going to add a link on the website, which will hopefully be live by the time you're seeing this. And I think that's it.